Hey folks, I'm CPC Gamer. Welcome to my little channel here. Today, we're going to look at one of the more popular and widely known games for the CPC. The reason this particular title is so popular is because it came bundled in with the hardware. Now, for you young'uns in the audience, I think I need to explain. Back in the days when Mongol hordes, Goes of the Gozerian and badly animated plastic dinosaurs ruled the world, software companies would include games with their consoles. Sometimes they'd give you 2, or 4, or even 6. 6 games for free, just because you bought a Mega Drive. Isn't that great? It sure was. Today's game, Roland on the Ropes, is the game that you received when you bought the CPC hardware. Before I talk about the game, allow me to tell you a little bit about Amsoft, the company responsible for making it. Amsoft was sort of the status quo of software companies. These guys knew 3, 4, maybe 5 commands in CPC Basic, and they used them in every which way imaginable to create a barrage of games. Wow, you may be thinking, Perfect Remedy was a terrible album. An Amsoft game sounded atrocious, but in all honesty, Amsoft games weren't actually that bad. They were abysmal. You had bad controls, bad plots, boring gameplay, insane difficulty, no music. They were virtually unplayable. Now, Roland on the Ropes is an enigma. It is practically unique in that it is an Amsoft title that is not terrible. Normally, you'd assume that they spent their time practicing and they learned how to improve their titles over time, but this game came out in 1984. It was one of the very earliest Amsoft titles. One could only assume one of the staff sold his soul to the devil in exchange for good coding abilities, and his time was up after the game was released, thus turning Amsoft into the whirlwind folklore legend of suck that they then went on to become. As for the game itself, Roland on the Ropes has a pretty standard plot for a CPC platformer. Roland, the world-famous adventurer, is exploring some dungeons somewhere in Egypt. He has to escape from each dungeon and grab as much treasure as he can along the way. You know, it's a wonder Egypt has got any treasures left in it at all. I own so many games where the plot was go to Egypt and steal things. And I'm fairly sure Sonic and Mario have each had a crack at stealing or breaking things in Egyptian tombs at some point. And then Lara Croft goes and makes a career out of it. It's terrible. Anyhow, when Roland begins a new level, he starts off on the bottom floor of a dungeon, and he has to climb his way to the top. It's not that simple, however, since he has to reach a specific point at the top of the dungeon in order to escape. You'll know the spot because it's the only square with a missing boulder. Along the way, you'll find various items to help Roland in his quest. Treasure gets you points, silver bullets give you ammo, and the weird potions give you more health. In spite of what you may think, there's no bonus for collecting any of the treasure. All you have to do is escape. Of course, there are monsters stopping you from making off with their money. On the first level, your main enemies are ghosts and rats, but along the way you'll encounter mummies, bats, and, if you somehow manage to make it to level 4, skeletons. I'm fairly sure witches turn up at some point too, but I could be mistaken. Each enemy has its own movement pattern and set of behaviours, such as ghosts, who can walk through walls, and mummies, who cannot go up ropes. There's no chase or attack AI though, so you don't necessarily need to worry about outmaneuvering your foes, just shoot them and be on your way. The game would be handy if it included a map feature of some kind, but that would be pretty hard to do since each level in the game is randomly generated. But you know what that means? Infinite replay value! You know, in theory, at least. It certainly won me over as a child, and I played this game to death, as my parents will tell you. In fact, they still tell me of how I woke them up with the game's awesome and not at all irritating sound effects. What sound effects exactly? Well, when you have Roland climb on one of the titular ropes, it makes the following sound. And since I couldn't find the CPC's volume control, I'd very often blare that sound at all hours of the day, thus stopping my folks from sleeping. It's been 16 years since it first happened, and you'd think they'd drop it, but no. I'd like to have a lie-in, Andy, so don't make those sound effects like you used to. I lost my last job because I couldn't sleep because you kept making those sound effects, Andy. No, Andy, I'm not going to unlock the basement and let you out. You'd only make those stupid sound effects again. Yeah, I know there's rats down there. I put them there, that's why. Why don't you jump over them like Roland does? They were wild ones, you know that? Anyhow, Roland on the Ropes isn't the best CPC game in the world, but it's definitely one of the best. And I definitely recommend you pick up a copy and give it a oh, that siren means it's basement time, so I gotta jet. So until next time...